Thank you for coming. I'll be quick because it has been a long day, but a little earlier I spoke to Commissioner Elliott was here, and I brought up the issue regarding testing this year and the opt-out movement and those sorts of issues. There's a feeling among parents, and I'll tell you, I've been contacted by some teachers as well, and it's, why are we doing this year when it's not going to count for the evaluations, it's not going to count for the grade scores. Now the commissioner, and I'm not going to get into evaluating her response, but it was troublesome in that it sounded again like all of the evaluations or all of the assessments for the students come down to this test. And you know, I would think that assessments are ongoing constantly by the teachers who are the professionals. So it still troubles me when the answer was, yeah, we should still be doing the test because of the assessment. I think it's ongoing, so I kind of want to get that off my chest, because as I was having that discussion, I received a message from a teacher who messaged and said, yeah, okay, the evaluations have been delayed a little, but I'm still getting evaluated on local tests, and there's still going to be test-centric evaluations, and that's troublesome. So I wanted to hear your feedback, what you're hearing from your members, because you brought up an excellent point, authentic learning. You know, learning today it's just evolved to a point where it involves so much. It's teaching these kids what happens when they graduate, where do they go from there. We talk about CTE, we talk about whether you're college ready, but there's so many different aspects and branches that they could go off on. What is authentic learning? And that's my concern, and I'm getting the feeling you're hearing the same thing, but I'd like to hear, are you hearing this from your members, that the concern is it's still going to be test-centric?
Well, I agree with your statement, and we are hearing the same thing from our members. So the fear is that this will continue, and I believe that the task force and the regions will undertake to reduce the amount of testing, to shorten testing, and to make it a non-punitive system of testing. This is what has to be done. This has been the outcry from, as you said, the opt-out movement. They have said that this is a ridiculous way to run a school system. They voiced their opinions, and they made them very loud. So we agree with the parents that this should not be what our schools are all about.
In terms, the federal law has now changed, okay? So there is no longer a requirement to use standardized tests in teacher evaluation. The federal law only makes a requirement of giving a standardized test each year for informational purposes only. So the federal government has clearly sent a signal. In terms of teachers, the idea, remember, standardized tests have been here.
Right.
But it's supposed to be a diagnostic.
Right.
And the minute you put any stakes on it, it is no longer a diagnostic. And New York City is a perfect example. The political rhetoric was social promotion need to go away, we need to use tests. So we got rid of social promotion, which was a great little political term. But the fact of the matter is, once we used the test as the only criteria for promotion, more kids were promoted than ever, and less were left back. When you took the discretion away from the teacher to say whether the child is actually ready to move forward. That little fact never gets out into the media. Right. So the get tough and use the test actually did the exact opposite from what it was purported to do when they were running the campaign to make that happen. So I do believe, what is real student? Right now, this week you have some schools in our state, most of them in New York City, consortium schools, who are doing their end-term exams. Their exams are, a student has to stand in front of a group of educators and actually go over whatever theory, hypothesis, whatever the work they were doing, challenging it. And it is one of the most difficult things I have ever seen. It is much more difficult than any Regents or standardized test. That's authentic student learning. It's a lot more work on the teacher's behalf, but they like it, and they know it's real. And that's why I hope I see our state starting to move. The first step was the commission saying, enough, it's not right, pause, but the pause will be over, you know, it was like, oh, it's 4 years. But, you know, we'll be sitting here 4 years, God willing, And I'd rather be at that point or before that point saying, this is what New York State now stands for in education.
And I agree with that, and I think that's the pause button has been hit, that's great, but we have work to do during
we
that
do.
pause, and if we're not moving in that direction, and I think we have a lot of work on all sides, us included, in letting your members know that it shouldn't be test-centric, it should be authentic learning, it should be about building a future for these kids, and I think we all need to do a better job of letting your members know that, they're the professionals. Let them teach, and we can rely on them because we have some of the best teachers around. So I thank you for
Thank you very
coming
much.
today.